Have you ever ended a relationship and felt guilty about doing that? You ever wonder why that is? Well, let's talk about it today. Let's dig it up. If this is your first time here, I'm Mari. I like to get to the root causes as to why we choose toxic or dysfunctional relationships. I always say we can talk about that other person, but we really need to hold ourselves accountable and take a look at what it is or why it is that we choose these types of people and relationships. So let's dig it up and start with number one. We feel when we set boundaries. Let me start there. I talked about boundaries in a separate video, but when we set boundaries, this can lead us to feel, which is our first, my first point here, is it can have us to feel uncomfortable. So the reason why we feel guilty is because many times we feel uncomfortable about setting boundaries or doing what's best for us. Now you may say, well, that's crazy. Why would you feel guilty, about doing what's best for you? Because sometimes that other person will say, oh, you just think when you set the boundary and choose what's best for you, and that includes, ending the relationship, they'll say things like, well, oh, you think you're better. You're on a different level. So you think you're better than me. I've heard holier than thou. And yeah, so yeah, I'm not good enough for you. They'll say certain things that can make you feel guilty if you allow them, and then you say, maybe that person isn't that bad, and it can cause you to second guess yourself. So number one is it can be uncomfortable. When we, again, draw the line and end that relationship, it can make us feel guilty even. I know I've been there. Let me know in the comments if any of you have. Number two has to do with codependency. We feel guilty about putting our needs and what we want before theirs. Because society, family, we hear this. Sometimes we'll say, well, we hear this sometimes. Oh, that's being selfish, even in the church. Oh, well, you don't think about yourself. You should be thinking about them. Yeah, no, that's off. Because I said it before, you can't pour from an empty cup. So it ties in with codependency because we put their wants and their needs before ours, and that's wrong. And again, even in the church, they'll say, oh, well, no, you got to be, think about other people. And it's not that you don't, but that's off, that you're being selfish because you're putting your wants and needs first. So yeah, that's reason number two that can cause us to feel guilty, because we're like, oh, we think a lot more so about their feelings. Oh, well, they're going to be hurt if I cut this off, and then you feel guilty about that. Oh, I feel bad. Think about it, because I had to. Why do you feel bad about doing something that's best for you, about protecting yourself, about drawing the line and saying, no, I'm done? Yeah, it's not that I'm trying to be better than you. It's not that you're down there and I'm up here. It's that, yeah, I need to protect myself, especially if you've been hurt in a relationship. So that's not being selfish. That's safeguarding yourself and protecting yourself. And that's not a selfish thing. It's a good thing to guard yourself. It's a good thing to think of what you want and what you need. And number three is, I forgot. So let me look at my notes. Real talk. The third one is, oh, yes, this is real talk. And yeah, sometimes I forget. So the third one is, you feel sorry for them. Oh, I feel so bad because I know, that other person loves you, and you feel so bad. Now, I'm not, trying to sound cold here. They'll get over it. And guess what? Praise God, you will too. It's hurtful when you end a relationship, and it can, again, going back to the subject, it can make you feel guilty, because then you're like, oh, not only do you feel bad for hurting them, as we discussed in what number two was, where you feel guilty about hurting them, but you feel bad about just you think, oh, I'm leaving them, and how are they gonna, you may even think, how are they gonna get along without me? They're gonna be hurt. Well, yeah, you're hurt too. When you end a relationship, you're hurt too. It can be hurtful. Change and growth can be hurtful. It can hurt, but that's why it's change isn't always pleasant, but again, I don't want to digress into there. The 3 reasons why we feel guilty. It can make you feel uncomfortable. It can make you, that's number 1, it can make you feel like, oh well, even sometimes go back. I've done that. You go back because you say, oh, well, maybe my boundary was too rough, because it feels so uncomfortable to set the boundary. Oh, maybe they weren't that bad. And be careful who you share your information with. That girlfriend or your boy or whoever might say, oh, it's not that bad. Give them another chance. Yeah, no. And number 2, like we discussed, is that in codependency, because that's what we put their wants and their needs before ours, and then we feel guilty about doing that. We feel guilty about putting ourselves first, but that is a healthy behavior. Putting other people's needs and wants before ours that's not healthy, because again, when we're healthy, we take care of our wants and needs, then we can pour from that cup, and then we can add to their lives and they can add to ours. And of course, the last one, as I said, was not feeling bad, or we feel guilty or bad because we think, oh, poor thing, now he's going to be alone, she's going to be alone, and they needed me. Again, codependent thought, something that will be discussed in another video. But I hope that this brought you some clarity on why we feel guilty when we break up with that person. And most times it's for the best, but again, it's hard to do. But when we look at why we had to do it, and we understand that we're worthy of more, and that we weren't on the same level, sometimes there's a lot of arguing because or disagreements, because we're not on the same level. So if you're feeling guilty today, take a look at these 3 reasons and look within yourself, and as I had to do, and you'll see that why those reasons, why you have those thoughts of guilt, and why they're just not reasons to feel guilty. Guilt is a useless. Wayne Dyer said, he's an author, and he's really deep thinker. He's gone now, but he said that guilt is a useless emotion. Think about that. It's useless. It doesn't serve us. But again, I hope that you got something out of this. Please let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. I want to continue to bring this messages on healing, restoration, accountability, and how we choose, because again, there's a lot of information out there, and self-help stuff, and on relationships, and a lot of times, even in self-help, they don't look at why we choose. There is material out there. I don't want to say there isn't, and great material, but it's only when we look at ourselves. I always say this: when we look at ourselves and why we choose these toxic and dysfunctional relationships, that we will understand the pattern and behavior, and we'll stop choosing these types of people. But this is Mari. I also have, I mentioned in the last video, a book about what the Lord showed me, the experiences I went through, and I write about that in my book, Broken Bird Syndrome. I'll put the link to that below. Also, as I mentioned before, I have a course starting. It's going to be new, very new. The Lord is giving me the pieces as we speak, and I'm going to be starting that soon, possibly in November. But if you're interested in breaking the cycle, please leave me your information. Go to my website, realtalkwithmari.com. I'll put the link down below. Let me know what, register. Let me know what you think of this video. Please, I love the comments. Have you ever felt guilty for breaking up a relationship, and how did you deal with it? But again, this is Mari. God bless, and I'll see you on tomorrow.